What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture back in front of the camera for the first time in 2022 after my horrible battle with COVID. But I'm excited to bring you a video today, guys. We're going to be talking about CGC and big question marks of why they continue to raise their prices. I've had a lot of people come into the comments on my videos. I just recently did a video about their most recent price change, the second in less than a year. And a lot of people came into the comments saying they are raising their prices simply because they want to reduce demand. I'm going to talk about this today, folks. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take the time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below. We're just over 300 plus subscribers away from 10,000. So thank you all so much, but I can't wait to get just a little bit closer so I can announce my official 10,000 subscriber contest. We're going to have massive giveaways. I already have a handful of sponsors lined up. So again, if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Share the channel with your friends. I appreciate you all so much. Let's get into this topic of discussion, folks. So again, for those that don't know, I'm sure most of you do, CGC has raised their prices twice in less than a year. The most recent one coming just about, it went into effect last week, was another $2 upcharge for their standard modern tier. I don't have all the details in front of me right now, but it's getting up there. I ran the numbers and they are really, I mean, they're a lot more expensive than even CBCS now for that modern tier, but ironically, they're still a little cheaper than CBCS for their premium tiers. So, I did a video discussing all those variables and things as such, but addressing this idea that they are doing this because there's so much demand and they want people to stop sending in their comics, I'm going to tell you all right now, that is incorrect and not a fact whatsoever. How am I going to answer this? Let's start with this. Any business wants to maximize their profit and their revenue, okay? They will not purposely create a situation that allows less profit to come into their pockets. The only way, I could give some examples of where, if you look at maybe a small business that has too much on their plate and they don't have the resources to really handle so much, they might need to downsize. That's a whole other story though. But we're talking about CGC is just one compartment of a much larger entity, right? And then getting bought out by Blackstone, they are a huge corporate entity now. They are not raising prices for people to stop sending in books, to get people to stop sending in books. It's the complete opposite. And I'm going to tell you why. Two main examples. The first one comes into play is output and profit margins. The bottleneck that's going on right now, that proves that their profit margins are exceeding what we call market equilibrium. Oh, well, what is market equilibrium? Market equilibrium is where your outputs, basically what you're spending on labor and the output that you're producing, and the price that you're charging for that output hits a market equilibrium that allows a company to see max profits, to maximize profit margin. Let me give you an example. Sometimes if a company produces too much, okay, and the price is either too high or too low, so say they produce too much and the price is too high, they're going to be spending more money and making less. But if they shift and bring down the price a little, and more people will start buying. And if more people start buying, then maybe they'll realize that at that lower price, then they have more revenue coming in to where they can actually up production again and produce more at a lower price. If people aren't buying at a higher price, you might have to lower your price. But you're also losing money if you're selling at too low of price. If the market is demanding your product so much that you can raise the price and still have that much demand coming in, then if it's too low, you're still not at market equilibrium, because your profit margin, you can increase your profit margin, but on each, for this case, for CGC, for each book, for each customer, by raising the price. People are telling CGC, we are still willing to pay. Even if you raise your prices, we're still willing to pay. We're still going to send you our books. And what does that do for CGC? It increases their profit margin because they're not losing demand. They can increase their prices and still not lose demand. They are essentially making more money than they can manage right now. So that increase in price, adding resources and labor, will allow them to reach market equilibrium, where output minus labor equals max profit. So that's what I was just speaking of, a market equilibrium. You can maximize output, and when you subtract the labor from it, you're still going to have a maximized profit. Purposefully dwarfing demand is doing the complete opposite of this, folks. So again, not to repeat myself, but I want you all to understand, they have to raise, they can raise prices right now without dwarfing demand, because people are still willing to pay. And they can add more resources, which we hope they're doing. That way they can create more output per day. The more output you make per day, the more money that you can make, the more profit that you can bring in, and the higher your profit margins can be. So increasing the price is doing, again, two essential things, okay? It's not dwarfing demand, and it's providing more resources so where they can get more out in a shorter period of time. Let's look at another thing. Now, I know people have brought this up as well, saying CGC, you know, I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but people think that CGC kind of, I don't want to say manipulate the grades, but they are conscious of not giving too many 9.8s. Or that's why 9.9s and 10s are so rare, because if they called every book, you know, that would like dwarf the value, right? Well, when you look at the differentiation between a 9.6 and a 9.8, and a lot of you know how I feel on that, a lot of times people chalk it up to the fact that, well, they're like, oh, how many 9.8s did we give out this week? Oh, you need to start doing more 9.6s. You know, I'm not going to say that that doesn't exist. I don't know, but I can see why. I can see why it would exist, because it would keep people itching to get more of those 9.8s, right? But here's the thing. Too many books exist on the market, because this is another thing that was brought up, mind you, for context. If CGC purposely decreases demand by raising the price, then it's not going to allow books to oversaturate the market, because they don't want so many books being graded. I'm going to tell you right now, too many books exist on the market. You have hundreds and hundreds of titles, which is thousands and thousands of books coming out every week. Hundreds of thousands of new issues, of variants. And a lot of people are sending new books every week off to get graded. Take that into consideration with the millions of back issues that are out there. There are enough comic books out there to send to CGC to last 1,000 years. And while the oversaturation of certain titles can happen, you know, say a book that was, maybe it was a dollar bin book before, some spec happened, and everyone's now trying to send their books off to get graded for those 9.8s. And then they all come on in the market at once, and it could devalue that fair market value. While those things can absolutely happen, that's not going to affect the demand for CGC in general. Because, like I said, there's so many books out there that if a lot more 9.8s of this book X are coming onto the market, and maybe the price is dipping because supply and demand is shifting, that's not going to affect CGC in the short term or the long term. Because what did I just say? thousands and thousands of more books are coming out every single week. Every single week. CGC is good for multiple lifetimes, folks. So I hope that I painted a clear picture today, everyone. I'm telling you, the worst business practice for CGC is to want to dwarf demand and want to turn potential customers away from sending in their books. And again, they just got bought out by Blackstone, who is, such a large corporate entity that if they were doing that, that buyout would have never happened. On the contrary, again, the increases are directly tied into the Blackstone tie out, and it goes back to my original point, because we want to maximize profit margins. CGC wants to maximize profit margins. Blackstone has the resources now, but they need to pair those resources with understanding market equilibrium, profit margins. How much can we increase these prices without dwarfing demand, while allowing more revenue to come in to bring in more resources to where we can keep pumping out more and more and more and more product for our customers. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave your thoughts below in the comments below. And again, guys, if you aren't subscribed, please take some time to do so. I appreciate each and every one of you. Happy 2022 to you all. Be well, and until next time.